Everybody, Luke McElroy from Mets Performance Consulting, joined with Nick and Tyler again. Welcome back to another episode of the Physiology Secrets podcast. Short and sharp one today. We just want to talk about fasted training. It's sort of a hot topic. Everyone loves to chat about ketosis and fasted training and all that sort of stuff. And we want to talk about the pros and cons of it, because there is a time and place for fasted training, but it's probably not, it's probably incorrectly used all the time. So let's just talk about the pros and cons of it and see where we go from there. So fasted training being, actually, you wake up, you don't eat anything, and then you go out for your run or your ride or whatever you're doing. So in terms of, I'll give a quick overview of fasted training and the known benefits, and then we'll see what comes from that. So the mitochondrial biogenesis, we know mitochondria, they use fat, they use carbohydrates to create energy. We need oxygen for that. Now, what fasted training does is it basically, we always are going to have some sort of glycogen, some sort of carbohydrate storage in the muscles. When we wake up and we have breakfast, that's going to obviously supplement those stores. It's going to increase those stores, so it takes us longer to get back to zero. Now, through fasted training, what it can do is basically, let's say if we ate food, it takes us 2 hours to hit glycogen depletion, for example. We go out for a zone 2 run, it takes us 2 hours to run out of glycogen. Versus fasted training, we don't have that breakfast in the morning. It might only take us an hour or an hour 15 to get to that, to get to glycogen depletion. So by hitting glycogen depletion, by running out of carbohydrates, it's basically a stimulus for the mitochondria to go, hey, I'm in an energy crisis, I can't work properly, I'm having to struggle to use fat to create energy because I don't have glycogen. It's going to be a stimulus for them to increase the number, size and surface area. We get better at using, I'm not saying we get better at using fat, we get better at using oxygen, and as a result, because there is no glycogen, we're going to use fat because that's all that's available. It is just a way for the mitochondria to grow and adapt. We can do that through that. We can also do it through high intensity interval training. We can do it just through long, slow zone 2 runs in the absence of lactic acid. There's about 4 ways that we can improve mitochondria. So that is one stimulus for it, and it would it should be entirely used for really, really easy sessions. Nick, do you want to quickly run through if we only have fat, what does that mean for repeat sprints and that sort of stuff, and why is it not good to be fasted in interval training?
For high intensity. It's mainly, a lot of it comes down to the economy side of things, because if we have to use fats as a predominant fuel source, we require more oxygen to break down that fat, which if you're running at the same intensity, and we've spoken about this before, if you're running at the same intensity, just 4-minute K pace as an example, and you have to use more oxygen for that intensity, you've just lost out from an economy perspective, because your body's basically working harder than it needs to for that 4-minute K pace. It's having to take in, transport, utilise more oxygen than it normally would, which you can look at and go, all right, I'm using more oxygen, is that better? Well, it's like, not really, because we're putting out the same amount of work. What it's also going to do is cap your intensity, at which you can get to, because we need that faster turnover of fuel to be able to get up to, instead of 4-minute K pace, maybe you're running at 350 pace in your intervals. We're going to need those carbohydrates to be able to process a lot quicker, because if carbohydrates require less oxygen to break down, therefore it's going to be a faster process overall. Also going to allow us to tap in a bit of that anaerobic contribution to boost the intensity even higher. So you're just limiting your ability in those sessions to get the workload up there. So you may be able to, the 1 or 2 intervals at the start of the session, you might be okay, but then as the session goes on, you're just going to start fading, because if we're on minimal carbs anyway, you're going to burn through that tiny little bit you had, and then by the back end of the session, you'll start dropping intensity, because pretty much you're essentially just bringing forward when you hit the wall, really.
Yep. Yeah, and that's the other right. So in terms of, I'm not going to go to the deep chemistry of it, but we have glycolysis and we have beta oxidation. Right? Glycolysis is using carbohydrate to create energy. It's a reasonably simple process. It doesn't require too much oxygen. We get the energy really quickly. Beta oxidation is breaking down a whole lot of different carbons and basically putting fat through a really complicated process to give us a shitload of energy. A lot of energy, but it takes a lot of oxygen. It's very, very slow. So when we don't have carbs available and we only have fat, hey, we'll be able to exercise and train and whatever forever, but it's going to be at a reasonably low workload because we need that oxygen, we need the time. It's a very complicated process. From a racing perspective, Tyler, talk about your opinions on carb versus fat. A lot of people into the high fat, low carb stuff. What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I think there's a misconception about the difference between what we're talking about now and fasted training and ketosis.
Yeah.
I like
big time.
Ketosis is super complex, but it takes like no carbohydrates. It seems like I don't know the exact numbers,
Yeah.
but it's
30 grams a day.
for an ongoing
14
period.
grams a day.
It's
Yeah.
not. We're not just going to have our normal dinner, go to bed, and wake up and then achieve ketosis for training in the morning without breakfast. So that is a different kettle of fish, and that for me, I'm kind of interested in it, but I think it's a huge impact on your lifestyle to if you're going to commit to try and do that. It's going to be very restrictive. It's going to restrict how we can train in terms of intervals and things like that. In terms of, I've done some training first thing in the morning, no food, and I hate it.
Yeah.
I think I sort of find benefits in getting comfortable in being uncomfortable, I guess, is what we talk about with training a bit. So if anyone's hit the wall in a race, in a marathon or something, you fully hit the wall and you know how bad that feels. I guess that's what fasted training essentially would be. And if you're not feeling that bad, you've probably got reasonable glycogen stores from the night before, and it's sort of so whether you've done it right. I think the key is if you are going to do those sessions, you're going to get up and you're going to do a session without eating. It needs to be a long, slow endurance type session. If you want to do intervals, don't bother trying to do them in a fasted state. It's a waste of time. It's going to be a waste of your interval session that you're not going to get the benefits that you want out of that. You're just going to get another long, slow zone 2 session. So, I think there's a place for that really. In terms of racing, if I'm racing, I don't want to get to that point.
No.
My goal in racing would be to be fueling with carbohydrates the whole way. And that's, we spoke about this before, it's going to come down to whether you can eat and whether you're racing at the right intensity and you're trying to avoid hitting the wall. But it's all, I guess it all comes down to that oxygen, getting more efficient with your oxygen use, and there's many ways to skin a cat, so to speak, so this is certainly one way to go about it. It's not the only way, if it's something that and I think there's this whole psychological thing that if you are doing these sessions and you are finding that they're really helpful for you, then go for it. Like, I think if you think they help and that shows in your results, then who are we to say it's not helping?
I think it just comes down to, again, trying to get everybody to understand that if you're going to do a session, like understanding why you're doing that session. And if I'm doing a fasted training session, it's because I'm time poor and I need to get to glycogen depletion as quickly as possible because I want to get those specific mitochondrial benefits.
Yeah.
Hey, if I've got 3 hours to go and train, have breakfast. Who cares? If you're going to go do a 5-hour beach road ride, have breakfast because you're going to feel like shit the whole time.
If you don't eat, you're going to run out.
Your rate of perceived exertion is going to be a lot higher on fasted training because you're using more oxygen. Your body is working harder to do not even that much work just because fat takes forever to use. But if I'm going out and say, I'm meant to do you're meant to do a zone 2 run, and you know that you're supposed to get to depletion, and you're supposed to, for that specific mitochondrial benefit, you're supposed to get there. Hey, I'm supposed to do I'm supposed to do a 6-hour one, but I've only got 2 hours to do it. Well, then I want to maximise the time that I'm in a depleted state, in which case, you do fasted training, you're going to get depleted pretty much, maybe within half an hour, depending on what your initial stores are. So then you get an hour and a half in that stimulus zone for that specific session, compared to if you had eaten, you might only get half an hour at the back end of it. So I think it's really important that fasted training, it's a tool for training. It's not there's more than one way to skin a cat. It's going to increase your rating of perceived exertion. It's going to feel hard. You're going to feel pretty crap after it, probably, unless you go really, really easy. But it is a very effective, it's an effective tool to get that mitochondrial stimulus, particularly if you are time poor. So it's just finding out what that is. If you're trying to do interval training, or there's any race-paced efforts or anything like that, forget about it. It's not going to be effective at all. But it's a tool for training, just like a lot of other things. So I'm not against fasted training. I think it's a good tool. Zone 2, keep it really easy. Time and place, time poor, and we're all about smart training and all that sort of stuff. But again, there's lots of other ways that you can stimulate those mitochondria as well. I think the misconception is that, hey, if I do fasted training or ketosis, I get better at burning fat, I never have to use... All that stuff is rubbish. We know it's rubbish. All the science says it is. Insulin is going to inhibit fat burning. How many times have we said that? Insulin. So you eat carbohydrate, the insulin goes up. Hey, that's going to inhibit fat burning, so you're using more carbs. But again, it comes down to the racing logistics of it. If you can eat carbs, keep doing it. If you can't eat carbs, that's when you sort of try to avoid carbs a little bit because of that insulin release. So... in summary, is there anything else you guys want to add onto this?
Probably just a case that I was thinking now of an athlete I spoke to a little while ago. Ironman athlete who would go into races fasted. And I know a lot of athletes do it, where they don't have breakfast in the morning of a race, thinking either like they don't have time, they want to sleep in a little bit extra, or whatever it may be, they start to they start to feel like they get sick, or they feel like they need to then take carbs really quickly into the race, or even opposite end of the spectrum, athletes who then smash a gel before they jump in the swim.
Yep.
Do we just quickly touch on that? I know we've already covered why it's not really a good idea, but probably just reiterate the fact that pre-race you have to eat something.
Yeah, again, it's an individual thing. Like mostly nervousness. I never want to eat anything. I do, but I force down a banana or force down something. But I'm not much of a breakfast eater, particularly when I'm nervous about a race. But I make sure I do have something. But again, it comes down to don't be fasted purely because you think it's going to give you a performance benefit, because it's not. I guarantee you, it's not. You want to eat something significant, at least an hour out, 2 hours if you can. If you're really struggling, 3 hours, but then if you're talking about a 6 a.m. start, that's going to be pretty tough. But again, in terms of fat burning and all of those benefits around it, it's insulin that inhibits fat burning. So if you eat something 2 hours, even 1 hour before, your insulin's going to be pretty much back to normal anyway, so don't worry about inhibiting fat burning. And as you said, having a gel straight before a race, something 4 years ago I would have said that's a good idea, and I thought it was, but now I understand that insulin will inhibit fat burning, so I say no, don't have your pre-race gel. Sort of start to stop having the high sugary stuff about an hour before the race. If you want to have a dry biscuit or a banana or something a bit lower GI, then that's fine, but yeah, just before the race try to avoid the sugar. But yes, you're definitely better off eating. It's probably a practice thing as well. If it is nerves, it's kind of tricky, but you can do some psychological stuff, some mental imagery, or whatever it is. But for me, I train at night time. I hate training in the morning, but I know I race in the morning. So if I want to get serious about it, I need to start getting up at race time, eating before practicing all your routines, so your body is going to eat. But definitely do it if you can. Anything?
Just, I guess, that pre-race advice is going to vary on who you are and how you're approaching, well, what the race is and how you're approaching it. Especially if you're a triathlete. I know a lot of guys are just trying to get through the swim comfortably and not necessarily racing it. It's a good idea. If you're going to go out, like I know I'm going to race that swim, even an Ironman swim at, that's almost balls out. That's 160, 165 beats per minute for me in the swim. So I'm not burning fat in that first hour of the race. So there's a different situation there. If you're if you're going and swimming that swim at threshold, and that's going to change things a little bit. And then we're going to want to settle into that bike for 4.5, 5 hours and get into there again. You've got an hour through there, so you're going to settle down by the time you get to the bike. But yeah, everyone's different. There's general rules, and this is the science and what will happen if you do certain things. So you need to apply that to your situation and how you're going to approach a given race.
I think there's a difference between talking about we don't want to hit glycogen depletion and just having a hunger flat. Like I went for a run yesterday, and I probably hadn't eaten for maybe 4 hours, 5 hours, and I know probably every 3 hours. There's no way I had glycogen depletion, but I was a little bit lightheaded. I was just hungry. I was just literally just hungry. And that significantly affects performance too. Like it's not that you run out of glycogen, I was just bloody hungry, and RPE went up and I felt rubbish and all that sort of stuff. So if you do the right things in the lead up to a race, and you increase your carbohydrate intake for 2 days prior, all that sort of stuff, the day of, whether it's ideally it's a carbohydrate based food, whether it's be cereal or oats or whatever, but at the end of the day, just don't get hungry. Make sure you eat something. If it's a protein bar, if it's I don't care what it is, I don't care if it's carbs, fat, I prefer carbs, but carbs, fat or protein, just make sure you got something in your stomach, because there's nothing worse than your race being over by the time you get out of the swim, because you're just like, shit, I'm hungry.
Yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, it's a fine line there. Cool, happy to wrap up?
Yeah.
Cool. So in summary, guys, fasted training specifically is a really good tool for training if you want to try to get to that depleted state earlier, because you're time poor, you've only got 2 hours instead of the 5 hours you had planned, and the idea is that you want to increase your mitochondrial biogenesis. That's the stimulus you're after. Then fasted training is really, really good, but be aware it must be easy. It's going to be harder. RPE goes up, oxygen consumption goes up, you're going to feel pretty rubbish, but it has a time and a place. But be aware there's more than one way to skin your cat. You can do other things like longer, slower training, keeping lactic acid out. You can do high intensity interval training, VO2 max intervals. So there's lots of ways you can do it. So just the key message is know what you're doing, like why you're doing that training session, and use fasted training as a tool, but try to race high on carbohydrates, or whenever you're doing intensity, you must have carbohydrates, because it's the most simply broken down fuel, and it's the quickest, most rapid release of energy. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll speak to you again soon.